Welcome to part two. I want to go ahead and recorded this in places in the middle, just in case I do a part two. This is my official welcome y'all into the second half of the episode. So appreciate you guys coming back for more, and let's get it. So when you get to Korea and you in process to like Camp Humphreys and stuff, you still kind of hold over and wait until like somebody from your unit basically come and picks you up. I'm not gonna say you in a holding cell, but they got like temporary barracks for people who like uh who are kind of like waiting to get to where they're permanently going to be sitting at. So when I pull up, when you first pull into Korea or like these international places, you do got to get briefed. So you spend like the first like week or two like in process in like the country, or it might have been like 10 days. I don't know how long it was. Uh, but you basically like in process into the country, going through customs. Then they kind of brief you on the army side. They teach you a lot of like fun facts about Kim Jong Un, and like I don't know if you guys ever seen an interview about some like the made up stories. Like those are actual things that we was getting briefed on about like, oh, I heard he doesn't poop and stuff like that, or he doesn't like use the restroom. Like it's like, like things that propaganda he sold to his people to make them seem like even higher than them. And so they let you know about all this stuff, and they kind of like internationally brief you on, customs, how to talk to certain people in Korean, like saying "안녕하세요," saying hi, like formal customs and shit like that. You do learn a little bit, but obviously you learn more by just going through the country and absorbing, just the country authentically how it is. Um, but yeah, I guess on like the military side, it was like when you over there, you kind of getting prepared or whatever for. Well, I'm not saying you gotta be prepared, but obviously like North Korea and South Korea have tensions. So like the time that you over there, like it's just a little bit more heavily policed. Like people joke and say like Korea is kind of like where Koreans go to die, because like you just a year over there, and it's so easy to like you can lose rank by not coming back on base on time. Like part of it trying to maintain foreign relationships with like other countries while the U.S. is over there is making sure that like the soldiers and people who are inhabiting the space aren't being disrespectful to the locals and stuff like that. And sometimes in order to mitigate that risk, you got soldiers and stuff coming back on base. You set curfews and things, especially because people go out there and wild out. And so you usually try and be good about that. So I think like even like curfew over there, if you don't have like a pass to be out, then like curfew 1 o'clock or something like that, like at the time, so you couldn't even be out like that. Um, it was real, like I don't want to say it was super strict, but it was still kind of like you know they managed, I guess you would say, so to speak. But outside of that, I mean, I definitely would go back as a civilian, like for sure. I think it's kind of hard to enjoy everything there in the military unless you like putting in passes and you actually planning in advance for shit. Not really like huge travel person, or like I know how to travel, but I don't. Nah, some people they be traveling for real. Like they get itineraries and like yeah. I think at that time you kind of try and go on vibes, or you might try and like go pop and see to do something. I think like. I kind of just like to explore. Like I go out to Itaewon, which is kind of like it's like probably one of the more touristy spots of Korea. Very like melting pot. Like in terms of like you might get people from like literally all over the world trying to like. Usually they might visit, and that's kind of like an area. Um, you go to Gangnam, do a little Gangnam style jump. Lotte World Tower is like one of like the tallest buildings in the world. You go out there, you go see. I went and saw ASAP Rocky when I was out there in Korea as well. I mean, I did a lot for real. It was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool experience. But I also don't feel like I did enough. Like I feel like a lot of my time was spent around like drinking and turning up and just almost experiencing the nightlife. And it wasn't even like I was turning up like crazy a lot. But it's cheap out there if you do want to do it. Soju. I'm just telling you about soju for real. If you don't know, you gonna just Google about some soju and see what you find out. There's a lot cheaper out there too. It ain't like you go out here to the Korean barbecue joints and you spend like $16 for a bottle. You can fuck around and get You can get a 2 liters of soju for like $3, $3 to $5 for real. And you can get fucking some mango nectar, and you mixing them like you get drinks like that. Like you make good as soju don't really got a taste. You can fuck around and get drunk and not even know that you was drinking. Like, but yeah, that was definitely kind of like military do. That's my experience in Korea. I'm just being honest with y'all. Like that was the culture that kind of is cultivated out there. You just around each other, and y'all fucking like don't got much to do, but just spend time and bond. And drinking is usually kind of like the easiest way people tend to like bond. So, then after that, after my time in Korea, after being out there for a year, came back home to Fort Leonard Wood, or not back home to Fort Leonard Wood. I came back home for a couple weeks, and then I went to Fort Leonard Wood, back to Missouri. That's where I spent the rest of my time there. And honestly, I was cool with it because it was a change of pace. Like I was always going out damn near every weekend in Korea, because when you out there, like you don't want to go out some nights, but then it's like you ain't got nothing else to do some weekends, and the homie hit you up, and now y'all going out, and you was planning on being cool, and now you just almost damn near do that every weekend. I mean, especially when like you can be locked up in your room all the time, or you can kind of spend time with them. And the other part I forgot to mention was that one of the toughest things about Korea actually was that it definitely was the hardest thing about my time in the military. And that was just being alone, having to be on the other side of the world with a 14-hour time difference. That was like the hardest thing, because you really out there on the other side of the world by yourself. So trying to figure out those things, like navigate all that, was really tough early on. Like you want to talk to people, but to put it in perspective, like when you waking up, they really going to sleep. Like the time that you might have to be able to talk to them in the morning, that's the time you're doing PT. And by the time you get done with that, like most people winding down, they going to sleep. So really like completely different sides of time on the time spectrum. And then a little bit into my tour, and I'll go more into, I could probably talk a whole story about this itself, but suicide is pretty prevalent out there in Korea. I think a lot of people in general sometimes join the military because they're running from things, or they Korea just gets tough for people, man. Like you just over there, like everybody thinks it's just a great time, but that time, like sometimes people go over there. Like the toughest thing I think to navigate for some people, it is like you can go to Korea for a year, or you can bring your family, and you got to spend 2 years if like you have a family. So it's kind of like, damn, like if you have everything kind of situated at home, and it's like it's a change, or people have health issues, it's like I don't want to bring my family, like because Korea has really bad. That's a common thing, is the air pollution out there, and some people are just not built for it. So sometimes it just makes sense to do that tour alone. But whatever it may be, just trying to do that stuff alone for some people, it just is really tough. So I have friends who committed suicide out there, and that's a common theme throughout the military, unfortunately. But that's just having to deal with that was a whole nother thing as well. So again, being in a place where not necessarily alone, but maybe not around people who you really thought that. Or not that you thought that, it takes time to be comfortable and to confide in people about certain things. So the military definitely career definitely kind of puts you in a space where you just gotta learn how to process those emotions, or things in general. So moving on to Fort Leonard Wood, the second time. Man, it was so glad that it was kind of like a change of pace. It was a lot slower, a lot more slow than Korea's pace was. I actually went back and worked in the same unit I was in basic training for, or AIT for, my job training, but I was actually part of what not like the cadre, like the people who were training the students, but like doing like admin, like kind of like working in the admin side of it. Is what they would call the S3. The S3 is kind of more like, S3 is kind of like the unit that just makes shit happen. in terms of like all like the battalion stuff. Like battalions are usually and brigades are usually set up into like sections like S1, 2, 3, and 4. There might be more as well, but S1 kind of does like uh really like more admin, logistical kind of stuff. Not logistics, but like uh just more admin stuff, managing like all the personnel files and stuff like that. And what S2? S2 is kind of like security, I believe it was. Honestly, don't remember. I remember what I did for sure. S3 is like, actions, like there's events and stuff going on. Like those are guys, people like setting stuff up. They need a podium here, so kind of like the handyman, make sure things are kind of like set up. Then S4 is kind of like supply shops, like anywhere around the shop that needs supplies and things like that. That's kind of like the people who take care of that. But I kind of worked in that unit for the first like maybe like 9 months that I was there. I was kind of just doing that. It was an interesting situation. Again, that's probably a whole nother like story and situation thing where I had to overcome. But what I had mentioned before about like, or it might have been in one of my posts. I keep on saying before, but for continuity purposes, that was one of the places that like I speak about. The Army gonna test you for sure. It's gonna kind of get they gonna see the things that it's just gonna test your patience in places that you probably didn't know you was gonna be. You might find yourself in unfavorable situations or times that you just like, damn, like I ain't signed up for this shit. But sometimes you just gotta kind of figure it out. I met a lot of great people there, but the time that I was there, I also joined there like during COVID time, and the time that I was in Fort Leonard Wood, that was real like, okay, like that was the time I was using to kind of decide what's the next move, like what we gonna do. I was still taking classes that I had been doing since Korea, but the thing about being here was that like, you gotta figure out your next move. Like you got a couple years. Like I think I had like maybe 2 years on my contract at the time I was in Fort Leonard Wood. So that was really kind of like, okay, I'm using this time to really like the army's auditioning for my time and vice versa. Like I'm going to see if I really want to, do another contract here. So I was still, ears open despite how career was going or how it went. I was like, you know what, like let's keep it going, give it an honest try. Fucking when I was over there in fucking Fort Leonard Wood, it was just the first situation I was just kind of like just over it. Things weren't kind of going well. Don't really feel like I was getting like my fair share. I had some back injuries and stuff when I showed up, so like my initial inception was probably like trying to work back from a back injury that I ended up hurting in Korea. It was crazy how whatever way it worked, but I ended up being like the brigade, so it was like a level up from where I was at. I ended up becoming the brigade's driver out of like just a chance of events, like, and that was probably like one of the best things that could have happened. I ended up getting out of the situation I was in, but I'm right here in Mans with the top dog really. So I got like a lot of time to really like sit by with him and kind of learn. But also at the same time, I picked up some skills like photography skills because I was taking pictures for the whole brigade. So it was kind of like as his driver, I was learning like I got a chance to like sit there and look what leadership looks like at that level, because he's a colonel. So at this point he always used to talk about how he already won the Army. Like he was able to retire and he was really just focused on making an impact. So I got a chance to kind of sit back with him and just like watch how he worked. Not like hands on all the time, but got an idea of how he managed his life, how he uses a schedule, how he uses an assistant. Realizing the role that I played in helping some of those things go. We spent a lot of time together for sure. that's just because like the nature of the job. So I mean, he definitely put me on with a lot of game, and I definitely like definitely grateful for that time for sure to even be his driver, and even the command sergeant major, which is like, I guess you would say like, I mean they're not equals in terms of rank, but I guess like him and the colonel kind of work hand in hand. And then the relationship between officers and enlisted in the military is kind of like officer tells the enlisted what he expects out of his organization, and it's the enlisted to make sure that the soldiers are the ones making it function, because the enlisted and soldiers are the ones who make everything run, and the officers are kind of like the ones who put the rules and things in their place. And it's just like any regular hierarchy in the regular world where you have managers and you have employees. Like, it's very similar concept, except for like there's people who manage the managers and there's people who manage the employees. So like similar concept between officer and enlisted is kind of like a simple way of breaking it down. Obviously, like ranks and stuff play into a whole nother thing, but being by them, it was really cool. Like, just seeing how leadership worked and operated, and being able to like not realizing that, looking at it now, I've been able to kind of take things away from like that experience that I really didn't think I'd be able to then. But let's see what I got. So the turning point for me, and when it was trying to make that decision about wanting to stay in the military or not, was it was really kind of like two situations. One, like, kind of like I came into being enlisted and being like a specialist the whole time I was in there, or even a private first class. Like, I mean, we're just like, when you enlist, sometimes people just treat you a little bit differently. It don't matter like who you are as a person. They just kind of see your rank and they might just like treat you a certain way, or they base it off of the position you hold. It's very like political. It can be very phony at times, a lot of the times. Something I noticed was how people treated me, how before I was a driver and once I became the driver. Like, obviously it's in other people's best interest to know me if I'm constantly around somebody that they report to, or they try and be like in good graces with them, I guess you would say, so to speak. But so I really went from being somebody that might have been overlooked in the organization to being like, yo, that's Adam Hilberg's driver. Like, that's the colonel's driver. Like, I gotta, hey, what's up, Nick? Like, I was on first name basis with some of these people who before, like the Army, if you don't know, like when you talking to officers and when you talking to like people who outrank you, sometimes they want you to stand a certain way, like arms behind your back, or like you stand in that position of attention, like you saluting officers and shit when you see them. Like, it's just everything. There's customs and courtesies to everything. So it was strange, to kind of be like, you got a little clout because you ride with big dogs. So it's like, hey, like, y'all watch how y'all talking to me, because we can get some beef. Like, it came with its perks, but I also didn't kind of like the idea of being treated differently because of the position I held, to be honest with you. That, and then this is also a funny story that I can share real quick. Was the time that I had gotten COVID, and it was just kind of like how they had treated it. So this was around the time I was the driver around the time COVID and times were big, and so when we was getting the opportunity to go home for holiday break, I think this is gonna be the chance that I finally got a chance to be home for Christmas. Or yeah, this is probably the first time I got a chance to be home for Christmas. Actually, I think that I had missed Christmas all the times I was in the Army. It might have been the second time, I don't remember, but so before I left, I had made this hypothetical talking to people. I'm like, so what would y'all do if I'm back home, and home at the time was 14 hours away in Virginia? What would y'all do if I was coming towards the end of my leave and I get COVID and I got quarantined for a couple weeks, or it's coming up on the back end of me, trying to be home? They're like, well, we probably just tell you to quarantine there and then you come back when you're good. So I don't know if I was just jinxing it, I was just talking shit, but like 3 days before I had to get back, I got COVID. and I told these dudes, and I was like, "Yo, I got COVID. What am I supposed to do?" And I'm the colonel's driver, and if y'all don't know about being the driver, it's really like there's not anybody really trained to be a backup. We didn't have a backup, so it was like, yeah, they figured out I'm not gonna be there, but for the most part, like, bro, like, that's your job. Be there for your job. So, I'm out, like, I get COVID, and I don't know, they thought I was bullshitting or what, but they was like, nah, you gonna have to drive back. So I drive back from fucking Virginia back to Missouri with COVID, 14-hour drive. And, bruh, like, the drive going back there was like one of them drives where I'm like, bruh, like, I'm not going back to this place, because on the drive back, bro, like, the idea of me going back with COVID was crazy, right? But on the way back, bro, I drove through West Virginia, and it was like, like, this is Christmas time in the mountains, basically. So, you're getting like sleet, hail, this that slushy shit. Like, it was raining and shit. Like, it wasn't ideal, right? Like it was, when it was raining, the ice was freezing on my goddamn windshield. Like, shit was crazy. Like I'm trying to like use the wipers, and sheets of ice are falling off. It ain't snow coming off. It's just a sheet of ice going off. A sheet of ice going off. So I'm like, bro, this is some old bullshit. I'm driving back in this shit. Like, dead ass risking my life just to go back. Like, COVID and this, nah, that's crazy. And I don't know why I ain't just pull over, like, just like, nah, fuck that, I'm gonna just get better. Nah, man, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and go. So I go back home. I guess it really was the Army shit. That they tell you what your home is. So I drive back to Fort Leonard Wood, and it's crazy too. Like, just that drive back, I'm driving back, fucking. I just do them drives like pretty much straight on. Like, I take like a quick little break, but it's really just straight. On the way back, like, I think I was driving through Illinois, or like the home stretch from like, basically, like, there's like a 2-hour stretch from St. Louis to St. Robert, Missouri, where there's no lights. Like, the highways out there in the Midwest, like how y'all accustomed to out like this way, there's no lights on the interstates. Like, it just be dark. So like, it's just you and your headlights. So if you see a deer, that's it. Like, you got, like, it might just be like you taking a picture in the dark with the flash on. It's just surprise deer. Like, it's just dark. But in the far horizon, you can see kind of like you coming up on the city, but it's still just dark. So as I'm driving, on the sides of the roads, I see like deer carcasses like exploded on the side of the road, like, and so big ass 18 wheels are coming through. So these like them motherfuckers is hitting, like, deers are being taken out left and right, like it's just bodies. I'm like, bro, like, all right, man, like, we just gonna pray to God, like, we gonna make this, like, we got to. So just the drive back was crazy. And then, like, I finally get back, and I stayed in like these kind of barracks by myself, and somebody tried to like press me, but luckily I had good sergeants at the time. Sergeant Horn, OG, he really took care of me for real when I was out there. He kind of pressed somebody and was kind of like, "Man, you talking to the fucking colonel's driver, like you better, like, watch your tone type shit." Like, that's just one of the few times where, like, it was cool having like NCOs, people back you. I had great NCOs in Korea as well. Shout out them. They held, like, out that way though. They was about to press, buddy. You talking to goddamn the colonel driver. You better check yourself, bro. Like, fuck around and lose some rank out here. You keep on talking crazy. So I got to spend my time in the barracks. That was cool with COVID, and got the quarantine there. Shout out to again the colonel I was driving for. His wife done cooked me some pasta, and they dropped it off at the door, and that shit was busting too. Like, definitely took care of me, like, when I was in there. It's not often where you see leadership at that level drop some food off for you. So they were definitely blessing, trying to make sure I was good, especially that situation. And I told him that too, like, when I was finally back from COVID. He's like, "Yo, they made me drive back." Like, and they made you drive back. Like, he couldn't believe it either. So yeah, it was just a crazy situation for things to kind of play out that way. But Thankfully, I mean, it paid off, but like that was probably like the last thing that kind of left a very sour taste in my mouth. Like I already kind of knew that people didn't really care about the individual there, but that was kind of like one of like the final straws. There was a couple other things that happened around there, but I was really like that was the moment where I knew I'm getting out, but I don't care. Um, so I was taking like a defensive driving course like a couple weeks after I came back, and that's really where they teach you how to drive, like use your car as a weapon, like putting people in pit maneuvers and all these other cool shit. Uh, we're just really like learning how to escort high value personnel. I guess you would say is what the job was kind of geared towards. So it was a super cool opportunity and got to meet a lot of other professionals in their craft in terms of like they actually like was taking care of like really high security personnel. The person I was, but we was on a base where nothing was likely to happen. Somebody gets on the base, we got bigger problems already. Not that. But that kind of was like the thing that kind of forced me out. I ended up coming in a great opportunity where it was just fortunate being next to the guy who I needed. But I was trying to get out through the Army, like I forgot what the program was called, but the Army got programs where you can go do internships for like 6 months, up to 6 months. So in order to get approved on that, the guy I was driving for was the most important signature that I needed. So once I got his little signature, I was on the way. Like we was good. Got the most important signature I needed, so I was able to process forms and boom and be home in a matter of maybe weeks. Because I was taking these out processing courses, and just to find out that I was there, it was like boom. So you going through, you definitely gotta make sure that you take those courses and pay attention because the military is hiding a lot of money that they don't tell the vets about unless like you actually like know where to find it. So it's the little sneaky sneaks for sure. Um, but yeah, so that kind of like brings everything back down to like me like transitioning out the military and my experience with the military was kind of like I think even looking, I think we probably just went over and talked for an hour, so this is probably going to be part of the second episode if y'all do hear this. But yeah, it was like a real big like definitely a big challenging point in my life, but definitely like no regrets. Like I wouldn't not do it again, but I also wouldn't like I wouldn't do it again, but I don't have any regrets, so that makes sense. Drip on himself. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some of the pros and cons uh, of my experience, and just like some little takeaways for you guys and shit. Um, I think like some of the pros, right? Structure, routine. Anybody going in, man, like I think if you was trying to get an idea of what like structure and routine and like what it looks like to consistently, put the pieces together on a day to day to, accomplish a goal, that military is great for that. But I think you can also get that from playing sports. So, I just compare like, the military is big on just being a part of a team and it kind of structure around that. So you can be a part of a team, military would be great. Or it would be easy for you. Some people who struggle don't know how to be a part of a team, and a lot of people want to be that guy. But sometimes it just don't work that way. Your opportunity is going to come, but even still, sometimes like the drill sergeants, they'll see that hey, this guy's going to struggle in this position, so let me go ahead and put him in that position and make him better. So you definitely got to be flexible. I think that it helps you build that for sure. Your basic needs are going to be covered for sure. Like, one thing is guaranteed, you're going to have food to eat and a place to sleep, and all your health care and shit is going to be taken care of. So don't have to worry about that. Definitely I don't know if you guys know about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but basically it just talks about how you really can't grow until your basic needs are met. They're gonna give you your needs, but they're also gonna take your sleep. So it's gonna be kind of hard to do some of the shit you want to do because your time becomes there. But it's possible. You just gotta make sacrifices. The benefits. I think that's kind of more post army. Like now that I'm out of the military, I'm starting to see some of the benefits of me serving. There's definitely benefits in, but I feel like a lot of the benefits are probably best recognized post army. That's just my opinion, at least now. Um, Obviously, you meet a lot of new people, get to experience new shit. Uh, yeah, definitely like the people for sure. Definitely like it sucks that like you get close and you build bonds with people, and then the army like just ships people away. So there's definitely that's probably one of the pros and cons, I guess, but definitely it's cool. Um, it's going to force you well outside your comfort zone. Well outside your comfort zone. I still think. I mean, the military is not like anything else, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's just a complete different world. So I think a lot of people, it can force you outside your comfort zone for the better. I think so. You learn to adapt and adjust. I think you learn a lot of survival skills, basic skills, uh, for sure. And then coming back as a civilian, I think a lot of the tasks seem a lot easier. I think so. And honestly, you can do dope shit, for sure. Like going to Korea, man, I got to shoot guns. Uh, like it was just a lot of good opportunities, experiences that I didn't think that like. I mean, you just don't really know. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. I mean, I know a lot of people who got to like. I've met people who joined the Air Force who got to like fly on Air Force One and be part of like security details for like high value personnel's. So there's a lot of opportunities. It's just you can find things you want to do that can you can help leverage yourself for a future that you want to build. It doesn't even have to be in the military, but you definitely can use the military how they might use you. Um, the cons. There's a lot of sacrifices you're gonna have to make. And there's gonna be some sacrifices you didn't know you was gonna have to make. Really, be people, friends, things that like you might be prepared to make those sacrifices going into it, but going in, it might be other things that you just didn't realize that they were gonna have to go. People who you thought were gonna be there might not be there. Like it's gonna be a lot of pushing and pulling. So you definitely gotta be ready to kind of deal with things that you might not be ready to. And time don't wait. So if they say you gotta deal with this shit now, you gotta deal with it now. I don't care what's going on in the military, so you gotta find a way to kind of build that mental toughness for sure. um Definitely there's a lot of mental, physical, emotion challenges you're gonna deal with. I would say maybe like the mental piece of it might have been the tough, but I honestly I feel like gone through 2 days like to me was more than enough to prepare me for like the physical toll. I was prepared to be physically like kind of like beat down from the training, just because I just knew what. Just I would just have the idea that it was gonna be like 2 days, and 2 days was a pain in the ass. So, uh, at least like especially the first couple of times going through it. But I think the biggest piece is definitely like the mental. I think if you try to join the military running away from something like mentally, then you're best like trying to take care of that. I don't think that's the place to kind of figure out uh those like to experience those things at all. I don't think so. I think the military culture, uh I'm not particularly like it's just different. I would say it's not bad. It's not good. I mean, it can be very toxic, but it can be very like welcoming at the same time. Like you meet a lot of great people who gonna ride and die for you, and you can also meet people who are moving kind of nasty and it kind of fucks up your experience. It really just depends on who you surround yourself with, and sometimes it's not even your choice because the army chooses who you're surrounded by. Sometimes. Um, it can suck as a lower enlisted. Just again, depends on your leadership. Uh, there's really good leadership and there's really bad leadership. I think the military is a great place to like looking at examples of leadership and kind of deciding on maybe who you want to be as a leader going forward or who you can kind of trust. But leadership, hey, that leadership shit is real. I don't like. I'm very critical on leadership to be honest with you. I think that I mean, the Army likes to say we're all leaders in anyways to begin with, but even still, like, I have no problem. Like I think in order for you to be a follower, you need to be a. In order for you to be a leader, you need to be learn how to be a follower first. So, uh, then I'm a firm believer in that. So like, you need to learn how to lead, and if you're not, to me, like I'm cool. I'm gonna let you lead, especially like in these military settings in general. I'm a firm believer in letting leaders lead. But if I feel like you're not gonna lead me properly, then that's where a problem's gonna happen. I'm not gonna lash out or nothing like that. But I was thankful to be around good leadership. So I don't think that uh, I was able to see bad examples of leadership, but my core leadership it was always good no matter where I went. Shit, I think when I was in my NCOs out there in fucking Korea, I had like Sergeant Meadows, Sergeant Salinas, fucking Sergeant Martinez, Sergeant Workham, Sergeant Freeman, Sergeant Lou. Uh, I think that's sorry. I think Sergeant Workham. I got them like even there were some NCOs early that I feel bad I forgot their names early in their career, but they all like they was there a very short amount of time, but it was still like the platoon that I had in Korea was I always tell them like that's probably the best. Like I had told them that you don't find teams like that often that can come together and like meet and do special things and or just even get along because we didn't really have too many problems, which is not often that teams come together. But you can have some really bad leadership who kind of don't really understand what it's like or what it means to lead people and think that being loud is what equals leadership when like leadership is often like understanding in the sense that like you yelling at me ain't gonna make me work. Just making you lose respect for me. So you gotta communicate like adults at the end of the day. I think that's a big thing about like leadership. Being able to decipher that to the regular world is where you start to like kind of notice like, damn, like these niggas kind of they're not really good leaders. Like I don't know how you in this position, but to each his own. Now, would I recommend joining the army? That's a whole nother thing. Me personally, I don't have any regrets of joining, like I said before.
How
But I feel like if anybody's joining, they should have a plan. I wouldn't say like yes or no to every single person. I think it just really depends on the person and what you're trying to do. I think you should go in with a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you should just have a plan first. But I feel like if you go in with the idea that like I just want to join the military, like you might get sucked in and be afraid to leave. Like and I think that's like the worst thing you want to do. Like I feel like you should go in probably like what am I gonna get from the army because once the army's done with you, they done with you. Like, and a lot of times, like people don't have a plan, and sometimes that's how we have like these vets who, are homeless or don't have like the proper resources that they need to succeed because they really wasn't expecting or needing to find another place. But the army will, make its decisions for you sometimes. Um, but for me, like I viewed it was something that was necessary for my growth as a man. So. Uh, like I said, I seen where I was needed. I wanted to make another step in my life, and that was kind of the area where, like, shit, the military probably gonna force that out of me. But I wasn't joining the military to run from anything. It was just a place for better opportunity to kind of like to grow. Um, and shit, even like still now, man, there's so many lessons that I can go back and learn that I can like look at and be like, dang, like at the time I didn't have a reason for why I was dealing with it or how I found myself in those situations. But the fact that I've grown older now and kind of go back and play and realize, the role that I played in certain situations and why things have gone left or right or why things played out the way they did. Like the military is like I mean, I'm almost 3 years, 3.5 years removed from it, and I'm still able to kind of go back and be like, damn, okay, like okay, that's why that happened. That's why this played out this way, or how can I be better and make sure I don't fall into that situation again? Like, there's so many situations, or even like looking back on the situations that other people went through and trying to be like, okay, shit, I don't want to go through that. Like, how can I not? How can I avoid that? Yeah, that kind of like wraps up, that whole portion of the story that I initially told, and then my experience with the military is definitely a lot more information that I probably thought I was going to spit out. And we've been going for fucking almost an hour 45 at this point, but it's been like the journey and the process for it all is all kind of led me here to like where I'm at right now. That's why it's so relevant. And even there's more space in between that after that to from where I'm at now that we'll eventually get into. But I wanted to at least like spend some more time just talking about the military a little bit, about my perspective and how things played out over there. But that kind of wraps up, that decision and how the car led up to here or to the military and my time with the military. One of my buddies suggested I should talk about it, my dog Wes. So I figured I, dive into it a little bit. But definitely want to probably find a more dynamic time to have a conversation with somebody about some of the things. And if y'all have any questions about shit, for real, throw them jokes in the comments and start a discussion about it for real. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up. We'll just talk a little bit more about, health, fitness. We'll call this the state of the franchise. Just talk a little bit about things going on my end in terms of the business side of stuff, but as well as, I guess, health and fitness for myself, and this podcast stuff. I think the first thing, man, is then like I'm glad that I'm starting to feel a little more comfortable doing this stuff, but it's definitely it's just new. It's definitely stressing me outside my comfort zone. Posting on social media, trying to be a little more consistent, like it's all like a form of, I guess, like advertisement. But I definitely do like want to start like getting ready to start training people. But I think those things are all going to come in time as those things start building, especially like the brand, everything starts taking off a little bit. I think it's more important that people get an opportunity to kind of learn a little bit more about me and things that led me up to this point and starting the business. I guess that you would call like the foundational pieces, so to speak. So I guess we're just laying down the foundation and kind of growing from there. The like health, I think, like, to me, like people, I guess I've gotten some like compliments of people saying like, "Oh man, congrats on the success and congrats on doing this." But like to me, like, I mean, I do appreciate it, but I think like, I mean, it's cool. I definitely like, I'm here for it. People saying, "Hey man, like, I appreciate what you told me." Like, I definitely took away some of that stuff that you was talking about in the podcast, or like that's kind of more the fulfilling. Like that's the success for me. I don't think like all the website and all that stuff is cool, but even still, like, not till I'm generating traffic to it. To me, that's just an art project. Like, not necessarily that, but that's just the mindset. Like, let's start generating some kind of business from it. It's all new. I've only been at it for a month now in terms of being consistent from the day I posted beginning of the month to now. And I mean, I'm learning. It's definitely, I think the big process of it is just getting things going, and then we build on it. And as we start building on it, then I think more people start gravitating. But definitely starting to make the steps in the right direction. And it's just, getting in the flow of things and, really lean into what they call like, the entrepreneur spirit, If you haven't, I mean, check out the website still. I got some drip on there. I definitely need to start, wearing it or buying some for myself and, wearing it on these little potties a little bit more. But I also want to give you guys an opportunity to kind of learn more about me and get a more relaxed vibe feeling and see what it's like to, kick it with the cool kid. I should go definitely go check out the Instagram. I'm always kind of posting on there. I always cross posting with my main account as well, especially on the Facebook. But I'm always trying to, build and post content, posting videos. Gonna start posting more reels. Uh, Trying to think of more ideas to be creative. I mean, if you guys want to send in words for the day or any quotes and stuff that you guys would love to see me post, I have no problem like posting them, tagging them with y'all, and building. I wanted it to be like a group effort and just trying to get people thinking more consciously about their health and the mindset and fitness. Um, yeah, I mean, think do have a couple opportunities as far as like talking more about the business. I have been trying to look at locations on being able to train people more, like a solid location. Like, hey, like come meet me here. We can do here. Got a couple locations that I can already train at, but I think to be able to advertise it on the website that hey, like this is a guaranteed spot and time. Like we got personal training lanes here in McLean that offer like a lot of that. So I might try and lean into that, but we're gonna see. Talking about some of the words of the days and talk about my little the one that I think that's most relevant to this episode is talking about a SWOT analysis. Uh, Basically the SWOT analysis talks about you basically doing a self-assessment of yourself, planning to go on to do your next goal, and it talks about addressing, looking at your strengths, your weakness, opportunities, and threats to your business. And by that, it's just taking like a self assessment. And I think this is important, not just in business. It's usually used in business. I learned this from my business classes that I've been taking for school. But it's good for like y'all just trying to like just look at yourself and see the things that you do well, and not objectively or not biasly saying that like, yeah, I like the ego tells you that you want to be a good drawer, but you might suck at drawing. Like, so you gotta like really look at yourself and be like, yo, like this is what I'm good at, and this is what I'm not good at. Here are some opportunities that I can leverage some of my strengths, weaknesses, or things that might be coming up. And here are things that might get in the way of me, becoming my best self in terms of threats. It means whatever, like, it doesn't have to be very strict, but it's good to kind of look at yourself and be like if your goal is to be, a better, like if I'm trying to be a better athlete, if I want to be a better, like say, quarterback, right? I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna look at him like, damn, okay, this is what I do well. Say I might make good decisions, but I can't throw the ball well, or whatever it may be. If you look at yourself as a team, it doesn't matter like the situation that you're breaking it down into. The more important thing is you to objectively look at something and figure out how you can optimize it to benefit you. I think acknowledging your weaknesses is a sure way to make sure that those weaknesses don't stay weak and then new weaknesses come up that you want to work on. It's just about constantly improving and acknowledging the areas you can grow in. And it's also like you need to learn your own weaknesses so that you can be prepared for how somebody might attack you, and it's all about just being ready and staying tactical and being ready for whatever you might come into. So definitely don't shy away from doing a little SWOT analysis on whatever you got going on before you plan to make your next step. All right, so basically that's really gonna conclude the episode. I'm gonna show you guys a couple of my coin collection from the military to kind of end the episode off real quick. I meant to show you guys at the beginning, but we're gonna go ahead and get into it now. Just gonna show you guys some of the cool my little coins that we got. I'll lean the microphone a little bit so you guys can see it. So I got my little Seabrand coin that I got over there when I was in Fort Leonard Wood. I think I got this from winning the board, but it's a cool little coin, man. Some of these coins are pretty cool. They don't really get you anything, but they're good for like bragging rights and shit like that. That they really like people who serve. They're really like interested. Got like a little belt buckle. Honestly, I don't even know how much these joints really was for real, but I'm sure it's probably a little bit pricey, or not really. They got some weight to it. Like if I catch you lacking, yeah, what he gonna do with that? But the coins are pretty dope for real. They all got like a little bit something on them. Some of them are relative to like the unit that you served at. Like this one was for the 62nd Chemical Battalion, which is where I served in Korea, and we was called the Panthers. So yeah, this is I'm trying to get the camera to focus on it. Yeah, this is actually a really cool one as well, for sure. Got even got like little Korean flags and stuff on it on the back. Hopefully, I mean, I'll probably eventually hang them up right here so they'll always be there because somebody recommended me add a little drip to the background or something like that. Got my little coin from the 3rd Chemical Battalion as well. This was like my battalion I was in Fort Leonardwood with. Yeah, but they all pretty cool though, for real. They got a little weight to them. They a little hefty for sure. Yeah, and there's my little, army little patrol cap and shit everywhere. Some people usually get this stitch right here. You can get that stitch, but it's cool that when you rank up, you take the little shit off. Somebody might throw that shit up like Bobby Smurder or something like that. Pretty neat, got your little name on the back and shit. So we're official, man. We ain't got no stolen valor or nothing like that, but had to do it right one time. Do I want to share this little? I probably might end up cutting this thing out, but it's a cool little a little plaque that I got. The frame is OD as fuck for as small as the certificate is. Like the certificate fills up like this, and I done got a whole damn plaque for it. And basically, I had gotten this from I did like we used to in Fort Leonard Wood. There's a thing that they used to host called the Forge, which was like it was like an all day like escapade throughout Fort Leonard Wood, rucking and rucking is like backpacking and doing all these like little events and stuff, challenges. But the very last challenge of it was like you had to like swim across like 100-meter lake or something like that. Well, guess what? I can't swim, and so the colonel was there, and he was like, "Come on, bro, you gotta go. Like you can't make me look bad. We're gonna look like some bitches if my driver don't go across the lake." I'm like, "Bro, I can't swim. I'm not scared. Your boy just can't swim. That's just a waste of time." So, not even peer pressure, but they on my dick. Excuse the language. I'm like, I gotta go now. So I go in, throw in a little vest, and dead ass, I'm just floating in the water. I was like, I told y'all if I go out here, I'm gonna be a liability. So why is y'all trying to make me, waste y'all time? So I get in the lake and just sitting there floating. I mean, I can still kind of, jellyfish my way a little bit, but at this point, I've been damn walking and carrying a backpack on my back. I'm starting to cramp up. Like, not enough water to replace all the sweats and shit. So, I'm over here dying, like, cramping up and stuff. And it's like a team exercise that you gotta carry like a barrel across this lake. So, I'm sitting there fucking trying to go. There's like a little rope off to the side that you can kind of like a safety net that I was using to kind of pull. And my team was like, "You need some help?" I'm like, "Bro, I just can't swim. I'm good. I'm gonna get there eventually." But it was like, "Nah, come on, we got you," because that's army, that's team shit. So I had like 3 or 4 people like pulling me as a unit. It might have been like 2. I don't know why I said 3 or 4. Like I'm a whole unit. But as I'm fucking like getting pulled, somebody who's helping, it's like, can you really not swim? I'm like, bro, like if I could swim, I would promise you, y'all would not be carrying me right now. But I guess in their eyes, like that was like a real cool like thing to do for me to not be able to swim. I don't know. I guess they thought I was scared of water. I really wasn't scared of water. Just I can't swim. Like, why am I gonna sit here and just be a liability to y'all when we can just avoid that situation? But needless to say, regardless, man, like I ended up going through it, and I guess like to them that was like, yeah, that's real cool, but that was like really that was the last event of the evening anyways. So part of like you getting through, you got this little like belt buckle that I showed y'all earlier, which it got like the anvil. I guess because it's appropriate because the thing was called the Forge, so you got the little anvil and shit. Yeah, it was cool though for sure. And then on top of that, they gave me like this little plaque as like yeah, you did it. The desk I used to sit at had like a staple remover on there, and so they gave me the staple remover as well. And you know they had written my name on there. You see right there it says specialist coats. Yeah, so they didn't fuck around and got me some drip and shit from there. And this is like my little thing. I haven't hung it up on the wall yet, and it's crazy because I've been in this crib way too long to not have this hung up. But yeah, that was by from who gave me that? Major Showhorn. That was the one. But yeah, I mean that's gonna break up the episode for today. It's a lot longer. We're gonna see if I break this down, make it a part 2.